Alrighty, so today we're going to be doing a workshop on the opioid epidemic and why it's so important and what our program is planning to do to help slow the epidemic and help people who might be struggling with addiction to prescription opioids. So let's get started. First of all, we wanted to start out by going over why it is important that we address this problem. Why do we have to talk about prescription or opioid addiction, and why are we doing this? So here's some statistics just to kind of stress the importance of why this is so important. So roughly 21 to 29% of patients prescribed opioids for chronic pain misuse them. That's a lot of people if you think about how many people are prescribed pain medication for various reasons. You know, some people, like I said, chronic pain, some people have surgery, they need it. 21 to 29% is a large percentage of people that do misuse them in some form. Between 8 to 12% of people using an opioid for chronic pain develop an opioid disorder. So, like I said, that's really high. 8 to 12 people that are prescribed these drugs develop some sort of addiction or disorder. Then we move on to 4 to 6% of people who misuse prescription opioids transition into heroin. I think that's just a very, very sad statistic that a lot of those people will end up falling into harder drugs that are more serious, and that can really affect your life. About 80% of people who use heroin first misused prescription opioids. So most people who are addicted to these hardcore drugs, who we view as drug addicts, started out with prescription pills. That's where they began. And then in 2017, more than 47,000 Americans died as a result of opioid misuse. So it is super important. Many people die, many people's lives are ruined and affected. Many people develop other drug disorders from that. All right. Oh, whoops. Okay, so we're going to go over who is at risk. There's a lot of risk factors, and one of the main things with opioid addiction is you never really know who is going to struggle with it. It's almost impossible to say like, oh, this person is going to develop an addiction, but this person is not. Anyone who takes a prescription drug for any reason is at risk of developing an opioid addiction. Any person that takes it. But these factors are people who might be at a little bit of a higher risk. So those who have a family history of addiction, those with past addictions, young adults, they're more susceptible to misuse them, therefore more susceptible to become addicted. Those who have been prescribed opioids, like we talked about earlier, and those with depression or other mental illnesses are more at risk. So I think it's important we go over the warning signs of someone who might be struggling with opioid addiction, because as part of our program that we're working on, we want to make sure that we're helping people. We notice those, if like you as yourself are struggling with this, it's important that you realize these warning signs in yourself, and also for your loved ones, for parents, friends, teachers, spouses. If you notice these warning signs, it's important that people get help early so it doesn't develop into something worse. Some of the warning signs, we'll just go through these: drug seeking behaviors, taking higher doses than prescribed, hostility, appearing to be intoxicated, overly energetic or lethargic, changes in sleeping and eating patterns, increased use of alcohol, mood swings related to availability of prescription medications, irritability when medication is not available. These are continued withdrawal symptoms when prescription is not available, doctor shopping, or visiting multiple doctors to obtain more prescriptions. I think that's something to definitely look out for if people are going to a bunch of different doctors to try to get more things. Borrowing prescription medications from others, using prescriptions at a much faster rate than prescribed, losing multiple prescriptions or prescription medication. Some people say, oh, I lost my bottle of pain pills, I need to go get more. It's not always true that people have lost them. Crushing or breaking pills, lying about the amount of medication used, stashing medication in multiple places around the house, ordering prescriptions from internet pharmacies, or stealing or forging prescriptions. So, I mean, a lot of these are things that we hope we would notice in a loved one. I think it's important that we all are aware and pay attention to what's going on with in the lives of those we care about and love. So if something like this is going on, we're in tune enough to realize that it's happening. If we kind of have passive relationships, I don't think you necessarily won't notice these things. So it's important to pay attention. So what needs to be done? What can we do to stop this epidemic? It's kind of like saying, oh, how do we stop drugs? It's not like something we can do all at once. And even if we help like one person stay away from becoming addicted to opioids, that's enough. So, I mean, it seems like a drop in the bucket, but definitely not to be discouraged, because everyone is so important. And if we can even do a little bit, I think that's super important because it can save lives. So one of the main important things about opioid addiction is the education. Many people don't realize the harmful effects of opioids. We often think it's prescribed by a doctor, so it's safe. It's not like I had to go on the street and on a corner and find some random person who would sell them to me. I mean, you can get them that way, but I think as a society, we don't really view prescriptions as a drug. And if they're taken in the right way and as prescribed, they're not harmful, they're not bad, and it's not like we're doing anything wrong. But like we talked about in the statistics earlier, 21 to 29% of people misuse them. So education that, hey, you were just prescribed these painkillers. Let's talk about how we can do this safely, how we can make sure that these painkillers aren't accessible to children or to anyone else who might be struggling. Like if you have a sibling that could be struggling with addiction, making sure that if you have painkillers or opioids, that you're not making them accessible to them. Awareness, it kind of goes along with education, just awareness of like the severity of taking prescription medication. When the doctor prescribes it, just being like, okay, like this is a serious thing. I have to make sure I take it exactly how the doctor prescribed, and I'm not going to do my own interpretation of how I think I should do it. People need to know the helpful resources. There's so many resources out there that are linked on our website that we can go to. There's helplines where you can call if you're struggling with it, or if you know someone who's struggling. There's rehab facilities. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has an addiction program, a 12-step program that it's free for everybody and they can join. Just knowing where to turn for help is a major thing. Counseling is also a major important thing. Talking to somebody or helping someone find someone they can talk to too. That includes like rehab, and there's a lot of things that go into counseling. Just also 2 precautions about prescriptions, kind of going in with education and awareness. Being precautious about what we're taking, what we're putting into our bodies, and how it might affect us. And also, I think it's very important that if we are prescribed a painkiller, that we let someone know. Like if you broke your arm, or I don't know, you had a surgery and you were prescribed a painkiller, that you tell maybe your mom, like, hey, mom, like I've been prescribed this medication, just so you're accountable to someone besides yourself, I think is very valuable. And that's something that we should do. We should tell people that we trust. Obviously, you don't want to go around telling everybody and that you have painkillers, because that obviously leads to more problems or people trying to take them from you. But someone you trust and that can help you and make sure you're taking them the right way. So what is our program going to do? We've talked a lot about how our program is going to, or like the problems of opioids, but what specifically is our program going to work on? We're going to raise awareness of the issue. We're going to do this by social media campaigns, by podcasts, our website. We'd also are striving. The purpose of it is to educate young adults, educate honestly anybody, parents as well, who have younger people in their family. Just education. We want people to know. So we're going to do this by hosting seminars and podcasts and having our website and lots of resources available on our website that people can go to. And we're also going to work on visiting schools and workplaces because, high school is a time where a lot of people might struggle with this. And also in the workplace, young adults oftentimes work. So as we're striving to integrate ourselves into these workplaces and schools where we can host seminars or we can at least post posters about the issues of opioid addiction or our flyers, we definitely want people to see it and be curious about it and wonder like, oh, what is this about? How can I get involved? How can I help those I love? And we want to encourage people to have these conversations with people, have conversations with their friends about the dangers of it, have conversations with their parents, siblings, whoever it may be, to talk. We want people to talk. Education is where it all begins. If people are educated of the dangers, they're far less likely to start the drugs, misuse opioids. That's like the main thing is people take opioids or prescription drugs without knowing the effects. And that's something that we need to change. People need to know the effects and will be a lot more careful about how they use them. Um, so that concludes our workshop for today. So you can visit our website and for more resources and see of ways that you can be involved. Thanks so much.